Hi, welcome to HeKate's Crossing. Okay, I had this inquiry in regards to Uncover Your Past Lives Oracle doing where you're using two cards at the back and then two cards from the front. I find it's very important when doing this spread to focus on what you actually want to know when you pull the card. For example, you say, what time period do I need to look at in regards to this past life? What time period do I need to look at when it comes to this past life? So when you draw the card, you're then looking at what time period. So your time frame for me is pre-Columbian Americas. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. That's card number one. Okay, and I'm sorry that the light, it's that time of the day and white cards are terrible with this. Okay, so we're looking at this here, the Columbian, the pre-Columbian Americas time frame. So that's what I'm looking at first. Okay, the next one I would say, what love interest would I need to look at? Okay, so what love interest? So love in this case is an arranged marriage. So even though it's pre-Columbian Americas and it was to do with a arranged marriage. Now, say if I wanted to look at, maybe I want to know what my trauma was, I would then say, what do I need to know about the trauma? What trauma did I experience during this time? So you can really pull as many as you need to, depending on what you're thinking about. So trauma was an accident. Okay, so I know you're only doing two cards, but it just sort of shows you you're focusing on what you're actually thinking about. So you're focusing on what do you need to know. And then the next one is, okay, what energies did I carry through? So with this arranged marriage and through the pre-Columbian times, and the trauma was an accident, what energies did I actually carry through? So here was being a peacemaker, so maybe being a sort of a mediator, always trying to find peace within the situation. Okay, and so what else do I need to know about this time, this past life? So you're very much focusing on what you actually need to know. And in this one here, it's about it being a performer. So maybe I was some sort of entertainer, an actor, maybe a musician, or a dancer at some stage. So for me, it's just about being a performer. I mean, that is one way you could do it. Is I've sort of done it quite, or you could just go like this. Okay, so what do I need to know about the lesson that I learned? I think that's very important to sort of focus on. Lesson was about accountability. What was my identity during this time? A father. So I was a father during the time, whatever it was about accountability of being a father. Okay, so what else do I need to know? So I don't know right yet. I'm just going to pull out two cards and see what comes up top. So I'm just going to lay it out. So this one here is a beggar. So even though I was a father and it was about accountability, maybe I was a beggar and attacked by an animal. It's interesting. So it's about being responsible for that. So that's another way of looking at the cards, by looking at what, thinking about what you need to know for these two cards, and then just allowing the top of the cards to shine to show the energy here. So a little bit more of a thought about what energies. So that's one way you can use these cards. Of course, she uses another oracle cards underneath, which gives you what are you hanging on to, how to heal and move forward, and message from spirit. So I'm just going to use, I mean, you can use a tarot deck. It doesn't have to be, it can be anything you like. It doesn't necessarily need to be, I think. So let's just use elemental wisdom. So what are you hanging on to? So what am I hanging on to? Oh, so here I've got Queen of Coins. So maybe I'm hanging on to maybe the finances, the health, you know, trying to nurture my health, and maybe I'm so busy focusing on my health or my money or finances and things like that. So that could be part of it. So how to heal and move forward. Maybe that's part of the reason why I was a beggar, is because I was so focused on the money side of it, trying to nurture that money aspect of it. So that's interesting. Of being a father, being accountable, nurturing the money side of it. Okay, so how to heal and move forward. Here we've got the Wheel of Fortune. So that to me is about making decisions, allowing myself to actually move forward, to let go, to allow myself that surrendering to move ahead. Message from spirit. So how do I move forward? With Six of Coins, it could be about giving unconditionally, also allowing others to give, to help you, to support you, to give unconditionally to you. You know, there are people who just give unconditionally, you don't expect anything in return. Maybe that's someone going to give you a bit of a step forward. It could be allowing you to sort of pay it forward in some way, so you're able to accept the help from someone else and then pay it forward when you can afford it. So yeah, so that's it. So hopefully that sort of helps, gives you an idea about working with these cards. I think you have to be quite intentional when you're sort of looking at the backs of the cards. You know, you need to ask, what's my location? What trauma did I actually deal with? What was my faith? What was the love interest at the time? What was my love relationships about? What was my identity? What was my time frame? What lesson did I need to learn at the time? How did I actually die? What was my death at the time? Where did I actually live? What was my location? So I think that's, and what trauma did I actually deal with? I think they're really important when you're focusing on the backs of the cards, to really focus on those topics. On the front, of course, you're going to be just whatever is at the top of the cards, or what's touching, however you choose to do it. For me, when I'm doing a reading, I'm very much focused on so if I'm doing a full reading, I'm looking at, okay, so I'm going to start with what is my location? Okay, what was my location? Okay, this one here, location. So location was the Western Europe. Okay, so what's my time frame? Time frame was Age of Discovery. So Europe, Age of Discovery. Okay, what was my identity? Identity at the time was a guru or an idol. interesting. So here I am in Western Europe, an age of discovery, a guru or an idol in some way. Okay, so what was my faith? Oh, this card we went down. Okay, faith was cult. Oh, that's an interesting one. One of a cult. So I was a guru or an idol of some sort. Age discovery, Western Europe. I was in a cult. Okay, so what was the love interest at the time? Love interest was obsessive. Ooh, this is a really interesting one to look at. Well, it looks like I've got some work here to do. Okay, then I'm looking at lesson. So what was my lesson during this time? Oh, I felt that one there. Lesson was hubris. Okay. Death. And the death was a public execution. Oh, that's an interesting one. So I have location, time frame, identity, faith, love, lesson, and death. I'm missing one. What am I missing? So I've got, what did I say? Location. Oh, trauma. So what was my trauma during this time? Psychological or verbal abuse. Okay, so location was Western Europe, time frame was age discovery, identity was a guru or an idol, I was in a cult. Okay, I was obsessive with love. My lesson was hubris, so to sort of with laughter, to have a sense of humour. My death was a public execution, so my trauma was psychological and verbal abuse. Very mental. Okay, so what energies? Let's do 3 cards here that's going to sort of move together. So we've looked at all those areas. Okay, so it's quite a lot to sort of clear away. Okay, so, whoa, card that flew out was an athlete. So I was quite an athletic sort of person. Athletic, quite fit. Worship to nature, so it was very much about nature worship. Okay, so that's interesting. So athletic, nature worship, which goes in with the cult guru sort of stuff. And there were a lot of secrets going on. That's really interesting to feeling sort of that quite energy about it all. So I really want to clear this energy. So I'm just going to use a pendulum and I'm just going to ask for some clearance. apply the healing. So, I mean, you don't have to do all of those topics, but I think that's really important to really focus on what energy there is. Because I think when you just lay out cards, there is a possibility of getting two timelines or two the same. So let's just lay out. Now that I've cleared that past life, what other past life could I be connecting with at this time? So let's just lay them out without any thought. Okay, so this here, and we're just doing the tops of the cards, right? See, this would see, it says here pre-earth, is it? Yeah, pre-earth, and it's about power. But it could also, if you're looking here, if you're looking at the two tips, it could be about self-love and Crusaders and Inquisition. So you can decide really what sits right. I think it's about sitting with what time frame. So for me, I feel like it's very much about pre-earth. Identity or grandparent. Pre-earth with being a grandparent. Okay. And here I think it's about a sense of being a prisoner of war. And being a with being a mercenary. Being a mercenary, and I was a prisoner of war. I was actually a grandparent at the time, and it was sort of like a pre-earth energy, so I don't know what that means. It's quite interesting. I don't know how it can be pre-earth, but so maybe I need to look at that. What does pre-earth actually mean? So let's have a look. I see what hubris was. Oh, about more humility. Sorry, yeah, I shouldn't. Pre-earth, period before humans inhabited the earth. So I don't know how I could be enslaved and everything with pre-earth. So that doesn't really make sense, right? So for me, I feel it's more maybe it's more about a lesson of self-love. See, that doesn't make sense if I'm getting these other cards here. So you think of pre-earth as before humans, right? So that's not going to make sense when I've got this energy about being a prisoner of war. Okay, so that's not going to make sense. So to me, it's about self-love, that which makes more sense. And maybe I was a grandparent. That certainly makes sense as an identity. So it's really about looking at the cards and thinking, now, does that actually make sense with the rest of the message here about being a grandparent was enslaved, was a prisoner of war in some way, and being a bit of a mercenary. So maybe I was a grandparent who was a mercenary, became a prisoner of war, and I have to learn about self-love. So you sort of look at the cards and sort of think, does that make sense? Does that resonate in any way? For me, the pre-earth definitely doesn't make sense. In this one here, I don't see myself as being androgynous. I don't think it was about true love, being a prisoner of war. Doesn't feel like I had a celestial faith. Psychic wounding for trauma. Stars for location. No, it doesn't really make sense in this case. Old age, death, no, definitely not old age, even though it was grandparent. I just don't feel like, it was to do with a prisoner of war and being a mercenary. I think that was more of it, and so I think my lesson was about, so now my lesson is about learning to love who I am and what I'm about. So I think you just got to explore the cards a little bit, trust in your intuition, trust in your own thoughts about what they could mean, and just see where it is for you. Anyway, that's it from me. Don't forget to check the links down below, check the links on my channel, like, subscribe and ring the bell so you know when the next video will be uploaded.